Before there was a flag, there was a man with a pen. His name echoes in monuments, in plazas, in textbooks. But if you strip away the bronze statues and the national holidays, what remains is something more dangerous, something more human. A man who dared to write. In an age of empires, he didn't raise a sword. He didn't lead armies. He picked up a pen, and with it, he cracked the foundations of colonial power. He spoke not only to Filipinos, but to the soul of all oppressed people, across oceans, languages, and time. José Rizal was a doctor, a lover, a polyglot, a satirist, a revolutionary wrapped in reason. And for that, they killed him. But they couldn't kill what he wrote. They couldn't burn the ideas he lit inside the hearts of the people. This is not just a history lesson. This is a confrontation, with conscience, with courage, with the legacy of a man who didn't need a battlefield to fight. He was born in Calamba, Laguna, June 19, 1861. To a wealthy Filipino family, but not Spanish. Not protected. The Rizals had land, but not safety. Education, but not power. From the very beginning, José Rizal lived between two worlds, privilege and peril. His mother, Teodora Alonso, taught him to read, but also to look deeper. She taught him to see the injustice that lived just beneath polite Spanish smiles. His father, Francisco Mercado, showed him discipline, taught him how to walk with dignity even when the road was stacked against you. By age 3, he could read. By 8, he had written a poem. Not just any poem, one about love of country. While other children played games in the sun, Rizal stood in the shadow of empire, and dared to dream out loud. He would not grow into a soldier. He would grow into something more dangerous. A young man who thought for himself. Rizal spoke 22 languages. He didn't learn them to impress the world, he learned them to understand it. Spanish, Latin, Greek, French, German, English, Arabic, Hebrew, Malay. He believed that to speak the language of a people was to see into their soul. He didn't want to become Spanish. He wanted to understand them, and dismantle the lie that Spain was the center of the universe. And to do that, he needed their tools. He studied at Ateneo Municipal de Manila, then at the University of Santo Tomas, where his brilliance was often dimmed by racism. So, he left. He crossed oceans. He took his mind to Europe. Madrid, Paris, Berlin. He didn't just study medicine, he studied men, cultures, customs, the mechanics of power. He learned how empires work and how they fall. The Spanish friars had the pulpit. The governor-general had the sword. Rizal had paper. And with that, he lit the match. In 1887, Noli me Tangere was published. It was not just a novel. It was a mirror, held up to an entire nation too afraid to look. In its pages, a priest's abuse, a people's silence, a reformer's torment, a country's sickness. The characters weren't fictional. They were everyone you knew. They were your neighbor, your schoolmaster, your parish priest, your own face, if you were brave enough to see it. The Spanish called it blasphemy. The Filipinos called it truth. Then came el filibusterismo, sharper, angrier, less about hope, more about warning. He had already told the truth, now he sharpened it like a blade. Samoon, the jeweler, was no longer pleading. He was plotting. Even Rizal, who had once believed in peaceful reform, was now showing the shadows. His pen no longer asked for mercy. It demanded reckoning. Rizal never called for war. Not once did he shout for blood. He believed in the long battle, the one fought in classrooms, newspapers, and mines. The propaganda movement was his battleground. La Solidaridad, his voice. And his weapon? Essays, satire, the scalpel of intellect. While Bonifacio sharpened his bolo, Rizal sharpened metaphors. He believed Spain could be persuaded. That conscience could crack stone. He thought maybe, just maybe, reform could still be possible. Some saw this as weakness. They were wrong. It takes more courage to believe in dialogue than destruction. He was not naive, he was disciplined. He wanted evolution, not chaos. Justice, not revenge. But history rarely rewards moderation. While others prepared for revolution, Rizal was labeled a coward by some, and a threat by the very empire he hoped to educate. They couldn't execute him, not yet, so they sent him away. To Dapitan, a quiet corner of Mindanao where they hoped he'd be forgotten. But exile did not break him. It deepened him. There, he became everything: a teacher, a farmer, an architect, an ophthalmologist, a healer of both body and spirit. He built a school from bamboo. He treated the poor for free. He planted trees, wrote letters, mapped the stars. They sent him to the edges of the world, and he transformed it. That was Rizal's quiet rebellion. Wherever they tried to bury him, he bloomed. He even found love, Josephine Bracken, a quiet whirlwind who saw not the legend but the man. Their love was not fairy tale. It was tender, brave, and doomed. But it was real. Even a man of revolution needed someone to call home. December 30th, 1896. Before the gunshots, before the silence, he wrote, "My father, pardon me. I die with a tranquil conscience." He wrote to his mother, to his country, to the future. His final poem, Mi Ultimo Adios, was smuggled out inside an oil lamp. Lines written in blood and ink. He did not plead for life. He did not curse his killers. He simply gave thanks. For the moon, for his dreams, for the people still sleeping who would one day rise. They made him face away from the firing squad. They wanted to deny him even the dignity of a death well met. But with his final breath, he turned. He looked them in the eyes. They shot a man, but they awakened a nation. What does it mean to be a hero? To raise a sword? To lead a charge? Or to write something so dangerous that a regime is willing to silence you forever? José Rizal didn't die with armor. He died with ideas. And the strange thing about ideas is, they don't stay buried. You see his name on streets, schools, coins. But do you see him in yourself? Because Rizal was not a statue. He was a man, with fears, with love, with rage and restraint. And that's what makes him real. That's what makes him immortal. He reminds us. You don't need permission to think. You don't need a title to resist. You don't need a gun to start a revolution. Sometimes, all it takes is a pen. And the courage to tell the truth, even when it's not safe. Especially when it's not safe. Rizal didn't fight to be remembered. He fought so that we could remember who we are. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most powerful kind of freedom there is.